Hello, and welcome to a podcast sponsored by Jim Waz Collector's World in Gastonia, North Carolina, where Jerry and I went for all of our collecting needs about 5 years ago.
True.
Shout out to Jim, who was our first sponsor for this show, and our last sponsor. But he
and
was
our only sponsor.
Yeah, we've actually had other sponsors, but no, this is a very special edition of the podcast. It's the Confirmed Crap edition. Now, this is the fourth one we've ever done. We're going to do a third, revisiting The Last Jedi, which we're going to record after this.
And we're not really calling it Confirmed Crap because of the movie, just because it's not going to be set up like a regular podcast.
Yeah, it's not. Jerry's actually going to host that one, but I'm the real Brad Bell, and as always, joining me is...
Barbecue 17.
So
also known as Jerry Reed.
Also known as Jerry Reed.
Also known as Wheels of Steel.
Also known as the creator of ActionFigureBarbecue.com.
Also known as Big Papa.
Also known as one of the best Flickr accounts out there. When's the last time you used your Flickr account?
Do I have a Flickr account still?
Yeah, well, you did.
Did you
delete it?
Not that I know of.
So
every now and then I get an email that says someone liked one of my pictures.
That's me.
Yeah,
Who's
thanks.
doing that?
Thanks, Brad. So
yeah,
people like my that my Resident Evil pictures, and then that Poison Ivy picture that I did with one of the statues.
Wasn't it one of the Bishoju
or
Bishoju
whatever statues? Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna get my phone over here. This is
Brad's phone. It's probably his wife.
I'll make sure she's not going into
Are you
labor.
Are you podcasting, Brad?
So
are you hanging out with that Barbecue 17 again?
Oh, she loves you, Jerry.
Oh,
so I want to say that this is gonna be one of the 4 podcasts I recorded this week.
Okay.
Because we recorded Age of Ultron, revisited, Gearing Up for Infinity War. That dropped today. Andrew and Kate and I recorded top 10 most anticipated films of summer 2018, which we're going to drop that at the end of April, probably around when Harper's born.
Okay.
And then we're recording these 2. This is just a crap talk about all kinds of stuff.
I haven't even read show notes. I have no idea what I'm doing here.
This is kind of me kind of spitballing questions at Jerry, whereas the next one, Last Jedi Revisited, he's going to host that
I'm
one.
going to be spitballing questions at Brad.
Yeah, he is. All right, so here we go. Okay.
What's Rose's last name, Brad? Huh? What's Rose's last name? What planet are Rose and Paige from? That's what I'm going to do.
Are they from? They're not from Canto Bight, are they?
They're not.
Okay. So
I'm going to be gatekeeping Brad as a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. Last Jedi's made me, probably less of a fan, but I want to get into that on that podcast. Okay, so here we go. You have a kid.
I have a child.
Yeah.
That's true.
Allie, who I just adore. Her middle name is Adora.
Her middle name is Adora.
After
She-Ra, Princess of Power.
That's right.
That's her real name.
So,
Princess Adora.
You have went through pregnancy, not yourself, but
not
your
myself.
wife, Kristen.
Yeah.
Who used to be on this podcast. What was Kristen's name? Arathalia.
Arathalia.
Yeah. So, and you've went through having a newborn child and all this stuff.
I have.
I just want to talk about kind of what it's like anticipating your first kid. Do you remember? I know it's been, Allie's 4 now, right?
Allie's 4 now, going on 5 in August.
Yeah. Do you remember what that was like, leading up to it, especially the weeks very close to the due date?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that, there's a lot of anxiousness, a lot of nervous energy now. My wife, and we were just so blessed that everything went well. My wife never felt better. I mean, and she'll tell you that she never felt better than she did.
Lucky.
During her pregnancy. And some people, some people do and some people don't. During the last couple weeks, my wife's parents even came and stayed with us so that we kind of had always some folks around, and we knew we would have some support, and that was wonderful. I mean, they just kind of helped us out, and as we needed to do other things. So my job was very accommodating. Again, I was very fortunate to work at a place that, encouraged me to take lots of paternity leave. And so I had a lot of...
Which is lucky for a male, especially in our state.
Yeah, and so, but my job was very, very good about that. So my paternity leave really didn't start. I was just, was just on call. Our church was super helpful and again, helped us get things ready at our house and everything. So a lot of folks helped out. I mean, it's definitely one of those things when, I hear somebody who's in a different position. I mean, you definitely realize how scary it is, but how fortunate we were that lots of people helped us out. There's a lot of nervous energy though, and kind of this waiting. One of the things that happened to me, and this is, I guess, kind of going in a darker direction, is one of my best friend from high school, died in a car accident.
I remember
the
that.
About a week and a half before my daughter was born. And so I had to make a trip back to my hometown in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was about 6 hour drive. And so I was just overwhelmed with, all of these different emotions, and my wife couldn't go. I mean, she definitely wasn't going to be traveling. So I was there with, friends and some of my family, grieving this process, and still on this kind of like on call waiting for, my wife or one of my wife's parents to say, hey, you need to like come back as soon as possible. Things worked out though. I was here. It was very exciting. I think for us, we had so much stuff in order and ready to go.
That's the way we are. We feel pretty good about where
the
we're
last
at.
few months. Honestly, it was the first couple months that I was just freaking out. I'm like, I don't know what to do. What are we going to do with this?
I remember that, too.
Yeah.
That was when we just started this podcast.
We really started this podcast about a month or two after we found out.
And about right when you guys told a lot of your friends. I remember we were at Applebee's.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about a new Terminator movie, which would become Terminator Genesis with Arnold coming back. And I thought that was the biggest news we were going to talk about that night. But as I'm walking out to the car, you and Kristen came up to me, and I think Andrew was still in the parking lot too. And you told me, and I was like, I was kind of shocked a little bit.
We were too.
I know y'all were too. It was a bit of a surprise, but
yeah.
What was that moment like, Jerry, when you saw your daughter for the first time? I've heard it's, very surreal.
It is very surreal to undertake, to realize you're undertaking responsibility for another person in that way, that you are now responsible for this child. And it was a great thing, though. And I mean, again, Allie was born fairly early in the morning, late at night, early in the morning, and so it's just overwhelming at times too.
Were you intrigued? Like, did you find anticipation in just wanting to see what she was gonna look like?
I did.
Because you envision it in your head.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you picture a baby, but like a blurred out face, like they're censoring it or something. You just can't picture their face. I don't know why.
It's pretty tough, and I mean, again, as it goes, and because you're obviously not even there yet, but there are those times when your child starts developing personality, like, not just a baby, but as they start developing like their own little quirks and stuff. And I mean, of course, now again, before this podcast, I was rewatching some scenes from Last Jedi to get ready. And of course, my daughter's sitting there, and we're like sitting there talking about it and having these, fairly in-depth conversations. And interesting, the questions a 4-year-old asks you about a movie makes you see things a little bit different way, or have to go a little bit further into.
To be fair, I asked the same question. Why is Luke doing that? But
well, it helps you go deeper in character motivations in a film, so it's interesting.
Man, I just noticed that Batman clock in your study. When did you get that?
My wife got that for me a year or two ago. I'm trying to remember if it was for our anniversary or a birthday. I think it was for an anniversary, but it's a clock of the Gotham City skyline.
It's like a record's been cut out.
It's an old record that's been cut into the Gotham City skyline. There's a Batman standing on top of a building. There's a bat signal in the sky.
It's got like the Dark Knight logo, or almost the Dark Knight Rises.
I think it's the Dark Knight Rises logo, going back to the Christopher Nolan film, The Dark Knight Rises.
Which we have to mention on every podcast.
We have to mention the Nolan trilogy.
Nolan's a permanent hashtag on everything I do, because I know we're going to mention
We're going to talk
Nolan.
about Nolan at some point.
Yeah.
But it's got the bottom, it has that cracked, Dark Knight Rises logo.
Yeah, very cool. The thing about anticipating parenthood is that so many people, and I kind of mentioned this to Andrew and Kate yesterday when we were podcasting, but who knows when these podcasts are going to come out. But so many people want to give you their advice. And some people, you really want to hear their advice, like your mom and dad you want to hear.
Absolutely.
Your close friends you want to hear. But, I mean, I have pretty good coworkers and stuff, but I really don't want their advice. I'm not saying it's not good. I love my coworkers. I'm blessed to work with very good teachers, but I don't really want their advice on parenthood. It's almost like, what they're saying could be right, but I want to figure it out for my own. on my own, excuse
Yeah.
me. And you and I have talked about this. You've been really good at having somebody to talk to about fatherhood, especially because you had a little girl. I'm anticipating a little girl, so we share that. My friend Adam, who's mentioned on this
Yeah.
podcast, they're expecting a kid in June, a little boy. So I've had him too, but I mean, he's kind of where I'm at.
He's where you're at.
Whereas
Yeah.
you've had a daughter for 4 years.
Yeah.
And one of the things you and I talked about is how many people almost give you like a doom and gloom forecast when it comes to kids. Like, your life's over, everything's going to change. You're never going to be the same person. And I don't doubt this is going to alter the course of my life and change my daily routine. I know it is.
Yeah.
But I don't expect it to fundamentally change me as a person because I'm 31 now.
Yeah.
I feel pretty comfortable with who I am as a person. And I want to be that person to raise my daughter.
Yeah.
Did you experience some of these same things, didn't you?
I did. I think, again, we mentioned that some people, like, when they would start talking to me, I'm like, so are you just trying to scare me? I mean, again, like, there's definitely a lot of wisdom in maybe reminding somebody, especially if you're a close friend or a parent, about what an undertaking this is. And I do think it changes you as a person. And I'll just bring up an example. When you're dealing with things, you're thinking about how they affect you. Suddenly, the things that you do or the things that you deal with, you start thinking about, okay, well, how do I explain this to another person? One thing I think of is, my dog passed away last year. Trotter,
who we love. He made several appearances on the Confirmed Epic podcast.
You could hear him probably.
He was always the one kind of riling up Canoe and Crouton, your other two dogs.
So, when he died, I mean, it wasn't just my wife and I dealing with it in our own way. Suddenly we're having to explain, because he was my daughter's buddy. And so I'm having to explain to her what's happened. And I mean, that's elements of just the way life is and our religious beliefs. And I mean, just all kinds of things. And
you showed her All Dogs Go to Heaven right after that.
We did not. But I mean, again, and like these kind of conversations that usually for us, it would have been just grief,
Yeah.
And suddenly it was grief, but we're also having to walk her through this because she was 3.
Well, this is her first experience losing anything.
Yeah, and she was very aware of it and what was going on. And so, I mean, again, like, not to get too...
I'm about to cry, Jerry.
No, not to get too,
I love Trotter.
Too serious with a Confirmed Crap podcast, but... Again, so you'll have things like the other day, my daughter's school, she's in a preschool, and, we got an announcement that they were doing active shooter drills. And you start thinking about my 4-year-old is having to go through an active shooter drill. And I'm glad that
they're prepping for it.
But then you start thinking, like, my gosh, it changes you to look at things a little different. Like, does this make any sense that we're accepting that as a normal part of life?
No, I agree. And now having a kid is going to be different. But even finding out I was having specifically a daughter, just how I look at women, and not that I was disrespectful to women or objectified them or anything, but I mean, guys are wired a certain way. They're wired visually. Let's be honest. There's nothing wrong with that. It's human nature. But how I look at women. Now I'm like, oh my God, what if this was my daughter that was doing this? Like, would I approve of that? Would I like it? And it really kind of changed how I view women. And I wasn't disrespectful before, but I have, like, I'd say I'm much more uber respectful now.
Well, not like Uber the company, because they've had some problems.
Yeah, no, not like that. No,
I hear you. And then you hear things, and suddenly you're sort of start thinking about, like, gosh, I don't want anybody to tell my daughter what she can or can't do, when it comes to like opportunities and stuff. So, I mean, it gives you that kind of a different perspective too. So.
Yeah, so probably by the time this in fact, the whole reason we're pre-recording this because I'm going to miss a couple weeks, and we want to have fresh content out there. And I don't want Jerry to have to just host DC toward the DC
universe nonstop.
pods the whole time.
I'm a couple storylines ahead.
I want to talk about some fun stuff, but we're
Yeah.
kind of in a serious mood here for a second,
All
so I'm
right.
gonna keep it here for a second. I just want to think, since we've been doing this podcast since 2013. That being said, there were up to 4 to 5 month hiatuses in that time.
There were.
Since last year, I would say probably since last February or March, we've been consistent. So we've went from like episode 58 or 57 last March, or March it was, because the Power Rangers movie was like Andrew and I kind of really brought it back.
Right.
There were episodes, but we brought it back on a regular basis. So from last March to beginning of April, we went episode 57 to 90.
Yeah, we've moved a lot.
Yeah, with some bonus stuff in there too.
Yeah,
so I mean,
you did some like what, half episodes or point 2
0.5,
episodes or something.
0.1. Yeah, so I mean, we're definitely, as far as stuff we put out, over 100, but we're approaching 100. And I just, especially coming back here, because Jerry and I record online on Tuesday nights, but for this one, we're recording in Jerry's study where we kind of started the podcast, and most of the first 20 so episodes were recorded in here, or at Andrew's kitchen table.
That's true.
At his old house. And I just think about how much, I don't know if we've really changed. We have changed some, but like how different life is from episode 1. And I go back and I've been reposting those retro rewinds, episode 1 to, episode 90 and all this. And it is like, wow, things, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I mean, we like a lot of the same crap, but
absolutely,
it's just like the stuff that's happened in life. I've got married. I have a house. I have a kid on the way. You have a kid on the way. Both of your parents just retired.
I don't have a kid on the way. I have a kid.
You had a kid.
I have a kid.
Now, breaking news, guys.
No.
Kristen listens to this. Wait, what? No, Jerry doesn't have a kid on the way, but
not.
At one point you did. Well,
like back, when we first started.
And it's like so much has happened during this time, and it really, you don't really stop to think about it much. Like my grandfather died. And that was something that fundamentally changed me.
Yeah, I've lost both my grandparents since we started the podcast.
Because I was listening back to an older episode. We were talking about the Batman 66 toy line.
Yeah.
And I remember I was talking about how my first, interaction with Batman was watching the 66 show with my grandpa, and how he had watched everything from, the Burton movies to the Nolan movies to think, well, maybe it's good he didn't live to see the Snyder
I like most of
version of Batman.
but
stuff changes you, and it changes you. A lot of it's for the better, but that's life. So anyway, let's get to some more uplifting stuff.
You think about it. You have all these things change, but one of the fun things about this podcast is you also realize, here I am, 34 years old, and I still like collecting action figures. I'm still reading comic books,
It's different, though. You're not getting single issues.
It's different, but there's difference, but you still, have a love for a lot of those things, too. One of the things I've done often on those, the end of the year lists is I would go back and look at how many of the toy lines I collected over the past year were really just updated versions of the toys I collected as a kid. Yeah, Masters Universe Classics is a updated version of the original Masters figures. Star Wars Black, let's be honest, it's just an updated, a little bit bigger version of the original Kenner figures.
One thing I'm surprised is, since we're talking about collecting, is you really no longer collect G.I. Joe.
I don't collect that much G.I. Joe,
and to me that's shocking, because you used to collect that almost with the same and passion that you collected Masters.
Yeah. A big part of that was that, again, after Retaliation, Hasbro really changed the direction of the figures for a while. They were going with less articulation, getting rid of a lot of the stuff that I liked about the modern G.I. Joe line. And then they basically stopped releasing them at retail. They've gone through this online only.
Are they on HasLab?
No, they're not on HasLab yet. They might at some point, but they go through what's called the G.I. Joe Collectors Club.
Okay.
Which I think it's ending at some point, but they were doing these subscription services. But G.I. Joe figures tend to reuse a lot of parts, kind of like Marvel Legends
Yeah.
and stuff.
Oh, speaking of that, I got to get my Jessica Jones and Hella
You
while
got to
I'm
get your
here.
Jessica Jones and Hella while you're here.
Yeah, Carlo wants those. I'm just kidding.
Which Carlo probably listens. Carlo's going to start.
He may become one of our second biggest listeners behind Timothy Belmont.
So we'll have to see. But I just thought they were getting way too expensive for me collecting them, and I started moving kind of other directions. So
as you get older, you really have to narrow it down because you have, you're definitely. I mean, you still collect probably the same amount of stuff, but I would say you narrowed down your focus on what you collect.
Yeah, definitely
much
way
more.
bigger focus on DC, bigger for even with Star Wars, it's like just the Black series, and then random stuff here and there, but it's just the Black series.
Like with comics, your trades now.
Yeah, just trades.
And mostly just DC.
Mostly DC, Star Wars. That's about it.
Yeah, with me, I read trades, but I've been just really focused on collecting the same single issue characters like Flash, Batman, Detective, and stuff like that. And I organized my comics yesterday after we podcasted, and that was a chore because I did the dividers and everything.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's good.
okay, all right.
Let's get on to some of these.
Yeah, and some of these questions have been shaped by older stuff.
Okay.
And so here's one thing I want to talk about. Okay, we have been big fans of the Walking Dead property.
Yeah.
When this podcast first started was when the show was first getting big. The comic hadn't even quite hit issue 100 yet.
Yeah, definitely.
And you read the comic a lot.
I did. I read the comic before. I read the comic starting back in 2005.
Yeah.
2006. I started reading it.
And like this show was like must-see TV for a while.
Absolutely.
Now I still watch it. I'm only like one episode behind. I hadn't seen this week's episode. But my question is kind of like, why did your love for that property kind of, no pun intended, die out?
Yeah. I really enjoyed The Walking Dead. I really used to.
How far in the TV show? I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm trying to think.
I'm pretty
Stuff
sure
was going on with the governor. This was the whole.
You got through 3 seasons,
probably 3 seasons. Maybe even the 4th season at some point.
And it's on Netflix too.
It's on Netflix now. Yeah. So we definitely used to watch it, and again, I think when like Andrew was around and more available, like him and I and my wife used to always get together and watch it as well. So that was kind of a it was kind of like
an event kind of.
Again, I think like a lot of things, if you have it as a social get together. I mean, again, like
wrestling.
I mean, when there's a pay-per-view for wrestling, I mean, we'll have 8, 10, 12 people over, and it's a big party, and so it's easier to stay up to it because it's always like an event. I don't know. I got a little burned out on The Walking Dead. For the comics and stuff,
How far did you read in the comics? I've read the first 2 compendiums and some of compendium 3.
I definitely got past 100. I got a little past 100.
So you probably read about the 2 compendiums. You got to where Negan was showing up.
Absolutely. Okay. I got to where Negan kills Glenn, which I don't think is a secret anymore.
No, absolutely not.
I guess part of it for me was just my interest in DC and Star Wars never went away, but I definitely sort of, went to that focus where I wanted to read every Star Wars thing that was available, and I do. Yeah. And I wanted to read as much DC as possible. And I mean, again, I read lots of Rebirth titles, but I also read lots of classic DC stuff as well. I mean, I'm going through all this post-crisis, but I'll go back and read Golden Age, collections and 60s stuff. And
why do you think you got burnt out on Walking Dead, the show specifically?
To be honest, for me, it just got a little bit too... I don't know. There wasn't really any hope there. It just kind of felt like I was getting...
I'm glad you're not watching it now.
I know. I was just getting beat down every time I watched it. And that's a big thing, I think, for me. As I started, having things in life that were, very negative. I mean, losing people and friends. And then having, a kid as well, my tastes changed a little bit.
Did you get away from horror?
I didn't get away from horror, but I got away from the type of things that I enjoy in horror. I've been watching back through Ash versus the Evil Dead.
All right.
And again, I mean, there's clearly a comedic, fun, good
Yeah, it's
versus
a fun show.
good versus evil there. And yes, people die, but it's so, I mean, it's so funny.
Splat stick.
Yeah, it's splat stick, and absolutely, I definitely enjoy that. I definitely still enjoy horror movies and gothic horror. It's things that just seem like utterly, completely hopeless that I sort of have to be in the right mood for, and I sort of, don't gravitate to as much anymore.
See, I still watch The Walking Dead, but I'm not behind. I can never catch up. I know if I miss more than 2 or 3, I'm just going to be like, screw this show.
Yeah.
Because it is so bleak, it is so hopeless, and it's so formulaic now. Like, there's 16 episodes per season, which it used to be 6, then 10, then it made its way up to 16. So 8 in the fall, 8 in the spring.
Right.
Every first episode back, awesome. Every mid-season finale, awesome. Mid-season episode back, awesome. Finale, awesome. But everything else just is filler.
Kind of drags in the middle, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, yeah, and it has 2 middles because you have the season split into 2. So, and Negan is just, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's an awesome Negan, but they've really just played that character to death, and they haven't really done a good job of showing him, humanizing him at all. Whereas with the governor, the stuff with his daughter and all that kind of stuff, like they did.
Who I met the actress who played the governor's daughter.
Weird.
At Shelby Comic-Con.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
you're like, I quit watching the show after you left. But no, that's a very good explanation. Tastes do change and things of that nature. Okay, speaking of, you're talking about you read a lot of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a very famous comic came out in like 2006. It was I think it was 06, maybe 07. It was a Wolverine issue.
Yeah.
And it was when Wolverine was in every comic.
Yeah.
He was so, and everybody's
like 1990 through
2010 or something.
2010.
But it's like, how does he do all this? So it was basically like a day in the life of Wolverine. So it showed like his solo story, and then it showed him with the Avengers and the 2 X-Men teams, like X-Force and X-Men Blue or something.
He's just jumping around in the same day.
And it's just like, he gets to the end of the day, and like even Wolverine, who has this healing factor, he's like beat, So for a while, that's kind of how I pictured your life, because you were going to school. You have 2 jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were always writing or doing toy reviews or podcasting and stuff. And then as you've had your daughter, I mean, you talked about how things have changed a little bit. But I mean, you've been pretty consistent with Action Figure Barbecue and this podcast and stuff you put out. Like, how do you, specifically with the Star Wars stuff, like, how do you find time to do all this stuff? Because, I mean, I got my things, like I read my comics, I watch certain shows and whatnot, and I do the podcast. But, I have probably just enough room to fit a kid in there.
I don't watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
I will throw that in there. It other than something like, I'm trying to think like what I watched through quickly over the past year. Or, past year.
I'm on Westworld now,
It took me a while. It even took my wife and I a while to get to Stranger Things. And now we watched through Stranger Things 2 pretty quickly. Once we started watching it, we probably watched it in about a week.
Yeah.
Which I know a lot of people would be like, well, that takes a long time.
Andrew, a day.
Books and comics are definitely the
focus of your entertainment.
Yeah, the focus of my entertainment, other than action figures and reviewing action figures and stuff. So I read at night. I read for long stretches at night.
You once told me that you can't read with, like, noise going. Is that still the case? Like, because I read a ton when Abby will be watching, like, Real Housewives of California, and I can just sit there with her and read.
Nope, I'll go lay on my bed. I'll go lay on our bed, or I'll my wife will go to bed, and I'll lay up and read for a while.
Do you ever read in here in the study?
I sometimes come in the study and read. Sometimes, again, if I'm reading a Star Wars book, something like that that's appropriate, I'll read it to my daughter at night, because she'll want someone to come in sometimes and just read to her. And sometimes she just doesn't really care what it is, so I'll read it to her.
Sounds like a plan.
I'll read it to her. Well, what's kind of funny is, I mean, I read a lot of Star Wars books when she was a baby. I mean, she just lay there and just listen, I just read. When I take my lunch break and stuff, I don't take a lunch break currently at work, but I did I used to had a schedule where I had a lunch break, and I just go to this one restaurant and shout out to Japanese Express, and
Love those guys.
they had a little table for I had my little like regular table, and I just go back there and eat and read for a whole hour. So
Yeah.
I always carry a book with me. I always have. If I'm reading a book, I always have a book in my satchel. If I'm reading graphic novels, I usually have 2 or 3 in case I finish one. And
Not to get too inside baseball, but so much of my free time is spent on this podcast.
Yeah.
Which is a passion. It's
Sure.
it's my biggest hobby. Like it's fun for me. I love making thumbnails for our YouTube podcast.
Yeah.
I love it. And but as far as preparing the article, like describing, what we're talking about, and editing all the audio, especially when we do it online, you have to send it to me. This is easy. Like, this will be done like right away. I'll just export it. But
yeah.
so that takes up a lot of my time too. But I've kind of got on a sit schedule with that. We'll see what happens when Harper gets here. But yeah, you definitely have. I'd say you have a different focus on your entertainment than you used to. And for most people, it's not necessarily movies and TV. It's more comics and novels.
Yeah.
And mostly Star Wars novels.
Mostly Star Wars, but I mean, I read fairly quickly too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I'm a slow reader. You're a very quick
I read
reader.
It in about 10, 11 days.
Wow. Which is massive.
In January, yeah. So.
Yeah. All right, speaking of how things change, I used to collect Hot Toys, Jerry.
You did used to collect Hot Toys.
And we talked a lot about them on the first 30 or 40 episodes of this podcast. And I had all the Dark Knight figures.
Hung on to those.
I do wish I would have hung on. There's 2 I regret selling. And if I could go back in time, I would still sell the collection. Because, one, it helped me toward the house.
Okay.
And it helped pay for my tickets to the NFC Championship game, which is the game to go to the Super Bowl. It's probably never going to be in Charlotte again, let's be honest. So, it was a once-in-a-lifetime. So, the fact that the money I know went toward those 2 things, and they're very, important things to me, that's why I kind of live with selling them. I do wish I'd have kept my Heath Ledger Joker, like the main one.
Right.
And then the Christian Bale Batman. Plus the fact that I probably sold those for about between $300 and $400, and they go for $750 to $1,000 now.
Yeah.
But if they're doing quarter scales of them.
Yeah.
But if they ever do 1/6 scales again, like they do a 3.0, because they did a 2.0.
Yeah, they did do 2.0s.
Then I will pick those up just to have those. That's the only 2 I regret selling.
I thought you were going to say the Keaton Batman and the Jack Nicholson Joker.
I mean, that would probably be second. But the thing, Nolan Batman, dude. We talk about it so much, almost ad nauseum here. I mean, I would love to have those 2 in my bookshelf, and I think one day I will in some way. So I may be an old man. We may be talking about on Confirmed Podcast 300.
I know they're small, but the Mafex figures have been looking a lot better.
Yeah.
They've upped the price like crazy on Mafex, which is crazy.
Yeah, I've been looking into it. So it's like with the Thanos Marvel Legend, the Build-A-Figure. First of all, I hate Build-A-Figures. I really do. I mean, because they force you to buy, which I know is brilliant for Hasbro.
Yeah.
They force you to buy things you wouldn't otherwise buy. But I'm picking up the Vulture, and the wings are insane to get, and I'm not even going for them. I'm like, just F that. I want the Vulture figure, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. You're talking about Hot Toys.
All right, no, I was talking about Thanos. So I bought the Build-A-Figure Thanos. Looks like he's constipated, so I didn't like it at all. So I went and got the SH Figure Arts Thanos. I've got him. He's pre-ordered.
Okay.
He's been pre-ordered for a month and a half now.
Those can blend in nicely to Marvel Legends,
especially with a bigger figure like
absolutely.
him too.
It's not like a regular human
His
size.
likeness is uncanny, Josh Brolin on the SH, but
it's cool.
I will say Disney Store has an exclusive. It's only been in London now. It is a Marvel Select exclusive Thanos.
Diamond Select ones, yeah.
Yeah, Diamond Select, yeah.
Okay.
And it is, they call it Modern Thanos is the name. And so it's still comic based. But the armor he's wearing looks just like the armor he is wearing in that trailer that we just saw and talked about on the podcast. I'm almost tempted. I don't collect Marvel Select. They don't necessarily scale well with Legends. They're
Bigger characters can work just fine.
like Hulk or something.
Yeah, because I mean they're often drawn different sizes.
Absolutely.
All the time.
Absolutely. So I almost thought about picking that up, but all my stuff's movie based. But it looks so close. But it's going for $100 on eBay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're not in the States yet.
It'll make its way.
Yeah, it'll go down. There's a Disney store near my in-laws, so next time we're over that way, I might like at Carolina Place Mall.
I want to go to a Disney store. I hadn't been in a while.
Yeah, they're cool. I have so much Star Wars and Marvel stuff now.
Exactly. I want to see the little toy box, the Star Wars toy box figures. If you see those, that look like the Disney Infinity designs.
I love the little titanium ships they have.
Yeah, I want the Boba Fett.
They remind me kind of the Micro Machine stuff.
Oh, which I collect Micro Machines like crazy. You know that.
We were talking about that, but like Hot Toys now.
Who are you talking about that with?
Micro Machines. We talked about it on the last podcast.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you meant like
you're looking for the Snow Trooper.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, I thought you and like someone else were sitting there talking about me collecting Micro Machines.
No, you
Who
and
are
I
you talking
talked
about that with?
that.
Like maybe you and Andrew were having this conversation and I wasn't part of it.
Yeah, we talked about the
felt
eBay
left out.
stuff yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, because you told him that.
I told him about Carlo.
But anyway, so when I was buying them, they started out about $190, $195.
Hot Toys.
Yeah, and they creeped their way up to about $225, $230.
They have
when I was buying them, and a deluxe would be about I'd say it was about $235 would be like a deluxe, right? Like the Joker with the table and all that stuff. But my God, man, I don't know if I could afford them now.
They have jumped like crazy.
The Obi-Wan Revenge of the Sith, which is one of the best figures I've ever seen.
It comes with baby Luke.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Baby Luke, like the hologram of, the Emperor and Anakin. And that figure's like $270, $263.
Yeah.
So now they do deluxe and regular. And regular is bare bones, but it's still like $230.
Yeah.
And deluxe is usually $35 more.
Yeah, I mean, do you really want the bare bones when the deluxe is out there, right?
For $30. If you're going to spend that much money.
Exactly.
But it's just like, where does it end?
Yeah.
Because, Mezco's gotten so much bigger now.
Yeah.
And I know inflation, okay? It's a 2013 to 2018. Prices go up. I get it, And the economy's better now. So that causes inflation as well.
But we see other companies not going up and other companies offering things at lower prices.
Yeah, it's like
there's a lot of Star Ace and Asmus and
3-0.
3-0. Are they at Hot Toys level yet? No.
Some they'll have one in every 4 figures do reach that level.
But when you talk about the materials and everything, they're offering the same amount of stuff.
It's just depressing because if they were $190 still, I can pick up a. You know what I really want? There's 2 Hot Toys I really want. I want Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
One of them from the DC EU. Yeah. I don't care which one. Not the gold train. I want the main outfit.
Right.
And then I want the Cap from Infinity War with the beard.
Okay.
Now those are my wife's 2 favorite characters.
You're liking the beard.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm wondering, and the new vibranium. Well, I know the other shield was vibranium, but the newer vibranium shield. I'm wondering if I can sell Abby on those just because they're her 2 favorite characters. I know if we didn't have a newborn coming, I could, but it's really a. And then we're looking at your Batgirl premium format.
Yes.
I was listening back to that episode where we talked about the Freddy Krueger premium format. I paid $317 for that.
Yeah.
Premium formats now
have gotten ridiculous.
They're $500.
I was really
Sideshow we're talking about.
Yeah, Sideshow premium formats. I was really curious because I really liked they offered that Batwoman premium format and then Black Canary and Huntress, and I was like, well, that would be kind of cool, to get some of the Gotham ladies, and
the Batwoman is really awesome.
It's pretty cool, but I was like, the price is just way more, when I can collect a bunch of other stuff.
Even with the payment plans, you're talking about a $500 figure, you get a $30 non-refundable deposit, and then you can cancel, you just lose that, and then $100 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of comics. That's a lot of 6-inch figures. That's a lot of, other things. And it's not that Hot Toys isn't desirable. I look at every one that especially the Thanos. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could get that. But like, I think now that other sculpting has caught up on more reasonable levels, whether it's SH, whether it's Hasbro.
Yeah.
Especially with the new face stuff we talked about.
Well, like Hasbro
makes them a little less desirable.
Hasbro is offering some incredible stuff at, again, that $20 to, the $18 to $24 price point, where Mafex has jumped up to about $80 some a figure now over last year.
But that's about on line with SH, right?
SH is sometimes a little cheaper, I think.
Thanos is 85, but he's
but
bigger.
He's big. Mafex had a crazy leap in price, and I had a bunch of Mafex stuff canceled and I ordered, and I just canceled it. I was like, I don't need more, at that price when, Hasbro and Mattel.
But was your pre-order price not locked in? Did they jump it up?
Or? But I was like, realizing as they were putting more stuff out, I was thinking like, okay, is this going to be a deluxe release? No, this is just their standard price. And I was like, I'll just wait. I don't think it's going to, I think it'll drop.
All right, so the Hot Toys Infinity Gauntlet. Did you see that thing?
No, I haven't seen the Hot Toys Infinity Gauntlet.
Well, I'm not hooked up to your Wi-Fi,
Is it
so
a prop
I can't
replica?
show you. Yeah, it's like a prop replica on a stand.
Is it better than the Hasbro one?
Yeah.
But the Hasbro one's pretty cool, too.
Hasbro one's $100.
Yeah, or 88, wasn't it? It was 88 at Walmart.
Yeah. Okay, so I just guess how much. Let's play a little prices right here. How much do you think the Hot Toys in like prop replica? I'm trying to pull it up on my phone.
$680.
Higher.
Oh my gosh, $800.
Higher.
$12.50.
Lower.
$9.99.
Close. I think it's $933 is the retail. And I'm pulling it up right now.
I assume it's actually metal.
It is. It is pretty freaking immaculate too.
I assume it actually has all the gems.
One thing I hate I never got was like one of the die-cast Iron Man.
Yeah, those look kind of cool.
That's when Hot Toys prices really started going up. I'm trying to find this gauntlet for Jerry here. I stalk their Facebook page. It's like I'm a scorned lover or something. Like looking at
a scorned lover of Hot Toys.
Yeah, here it is, Jerry. Look at it.
That's nice.
Yeah, swipe through and you can see it. Instead of swiping right on women, now that we're married, we swipe right on Hot Toys we wish we could have. All right, Jerry, I have a question for you while you're doing that.
I'm not even sure how to use this.
Okay.
Sorry.
This was not planned, but it gets me to my question.
Oh, shoot.
You're the only person I know, of my friends, okay, not only, I mean my grandma, but that doesn't have a smartphone.
I don't have a smartphone.
It's the only reason I think it's kind of odd is you're on a podcast.
Right.
You do have social media. You're pretty active with your Facebook page for Action Figure Barbecue.
Action Figure Barbecue.
You have Twitter,
fairly.
but you don't use it really.
Use it.
You don't have Instagram or any of that, which I think Instagram is my favorite social media as a 30-something-year-old. Twitter definitely is where we get most of our interaction from the show, and I think a lot of people who find the show find it through Twitter. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so as somebody who has this podcast, has this blog, you don't have a smartphone. It even kind of makes it even crazier to me. Like I'm looking at your flip phone right now.
It's okay. It's It's waterproof. For 30 minutes up to 10 meters.
Okay.
So it's highly durable. I've hammered things with it in an emergency situation.
Well, I know it's not.
Times.
I know it's not the money.
Yeah.
So why do you not have a smartphone?
I do not like. I can honestly tell you. Maybe right when my daughter was born. So for a while they were just expensive, and I just didn't have any interest in it. I was like, I have a computer. I don't need a smartphone. I didn't have a lot of interest in it.
Talking about like early iPhone, early Droid days.
Andrew was one of the first people I knew that had one.
Yeah,
and I mean, it was very cool. He'd sit there and.
What's crazy is, dude, I held out for I didn't have my first smartphone until 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
And Andrew had two before that.
Right.
So I held out. But once I got one, just with my email and all that, I just couldn't go back. But
I went to I went to visit some friends that I hadn't seen in a long time, and we were waiting in line somewhere, and all everybody wanted to do was look up baseball scores and check Facebook.
Your friends?
Yeah.
Okay.
and make some friends I had from back home, and like,
Tennessee doesn't even have a baseball team,
well,
though.
people still like
Hockey?
baseball.
Is it DC?
No, this
Ah, okay.
but all everybody wanted to do was sit there and, like, screw around with their phones. And I'm like, I'm sitting here in line, like, well, I'm trying to hold conversations. People are like, hold on, let's check this baseball. Oh, wait a second, I want to see somebody's Facebook. And I guarantee you that was probably the day that I was like, you know what? No way.
Your wife, Kristen, has a smartphone.
My wife has a phone.
What kind of phone does she have?
I don't have a clue.
She doesn't have an iPhone,
She's
though.
a Droid or something. Maybe an Android.
Yeah, and Andrew's an Android person for sure.
So
see, iPhone and Apple have me because, like, I have a MacBook Air here.
Yeah.
I have an iMac at home. Abby has an iPhone, so like all of our pictures upload to the cloud, like everything synced together. Yeah. So they kind of got me with that too.
So part of my thing has been, unless it's my hobby and I enjoy it, I have tried to make myself less connected to other things and more present in what I'm doing. So I'm never worried about, sometimes, sure, if we're out, I'll ask my wife, hey, take a picture. But whenever I'm out, I'm there. I don't like this idea that I'm going to be seeing, what everybody's doing on Facebook. If I sit down to Facebook, I like the idea that I sit at my desktop. I actually don't carry my laptop around. I keep my laptop in one place. And when I go to check out social media, or I go to check out the news,
so that's fascinating.
My email, I check it out right here. And then as soon as I get up, I walk away from it.
So you never, like, when you're doing toy reviews and stuff, you're never working on it, like, in the other room?
I am right here. If I am out there, every now and then my daughter and I will play, like, room escape games, and maybe we'll go out on the couch and play it or something. But I keep it right here. And when I'm not here, I'm not connected to anything.
The reason I can't do that is because I'm editing Jerry's podcast.
Yeah. So, but again, when I'm in here, a podcast, and when I'm not, I'm out and about and doing things. And yes, I do pick up my wife's phone sometimes if we're at a restaurant and, there's just, like, I'm waiting for food. I will go through it. So I'm not completely, like, but I don't like the idea that I would be getting emails while I'm out and about, or,
oh my gosh, it is
something.
Now, look, I'm not some corporate CEO, but in the last 2 years, I started teaching AP government.
Yeah.
Great kids, so much fun to teach. A lot of extra work for me, though.
Yeah.
Because you really got to grade their stuff really tough and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, like, I emailed my college professors. I distinctly remember that. But I never emailed high school teachers, okay?
Yeah.
But, like, these students, especially your AP students who really care, and that's awesome that they care.
Yeah.
If I give them, like, a project or, I get, like, 4 or 5 emails about it, and it's like, I always will respond because, like, I always want to be there for my students. So that's good, but there's so many times. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just saying, I have my phone, and again, if there's an emergency at my work, they can call me, but people would have to call me, I
don't want my students calling me, that's for sure.
But, for me, that's way, and I don't have students, but, somebody can call me and ask me face to face, but I feel like that has to be more of, for someone that's more of an emergency or that's more of a need. I don't need to just be bombarded with everything, I leave that here. When I go out, I have my phone, but that's, time with my family, or just time to think, or time to, be present in whatever I'm doing. The one thing that has interested me is there's a thing called a Runcible.
I haven't heard of it.
It's been around for a little while. I haven't checked on it in a while, but the idea is it's made of wood. It's electronic, but it has a wooden case.
Yeah.
And
made of wool? No, wood.
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 But it has some smartphone features. It has, like, GPS and stuff.
That's why I couldn't get rid of mine, is camera and GPS.
See, I don't have those things. I've contemplated, I have a nice camera. I've contemplated getting a little portable camera. But, again, I don't like the whole smartphone culture. And so I've tried to make steps to disconnect myself. It was a big deal for me to go back and do a Facebook page for Action Figure Barbecue because I did not have a Facebook page for a number of years.
But what's the thing? The runs. What was
Runcible.
All right, so it's a GPS. Is it a camera?
I don't know if it has a camera or not.
So what's it do? It's just a GPS?
No, it's a GPS. You can text, you can call on it.
Okay.
But it doesn't have like any kind of notification system
or apps or anything
like that.
But when you get a text, you get a notification. No?
No.
I'll see. I don't like that. I want to know when somebody texts me.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to look into it a little more. I don't know if it's still around. It was kind of an experimental thing, but it gave you the functionality, but at your kind of on your terms.
At your pace, yeah. Well, the thing is, too, like, everything is more digitized now, especially, like, at school now. Every kid has a laptop, which is both good and it's bad.
Yeah.
With the phone, man, I'm bad about it. Like, I go through phases where I really pay attention and I don't do it.
Yeah.
But, like, almost naturally, like, if I'm sitting there and I'm not reading something and Abby's watching something that I'm not interested in, I'm definitely going to be scrolling through my phone or on my laptop, sometimes working on podcast stuff, sometimes looking at Marvel Legends collecting group on Facebook, stuff like that. But it is a problem. I don't know if it's like an addiction problem for me here, and it's not like that, but it is something I want to get better at. But I'm kind of like Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi. It's like too late for me to go back. And I tell you what, I had to get a new phone, not like a replacement, not like a new phone. And I contemplated getting a phone kind of like yours.
Yeah.
And I came very close to getting it, but I didn't because I was like, well, I'm about to have a kid. I want to have a good camera. Mm-hmm. And it has a camera, but it's not that good, the one that I was looking at.
Yeah, no, I mean, the camera's not great on that.
Yeah, and GPS. Like, not that I travel a lot, but like when I'm in Charlotte and stuff like that to get from one location to another.
I still, if I'm traveling for work and stuff, I'll still print out my my Google Map.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. If I didn't do this podcast, I would not have, like, Twitter or Facebook, I don't think.
Yeah.
Now, I'd have Instagram because I think that's a pretty good social media, but I don't know, man. Like, you get tired of it. You get sick of it. Okay, last question here. This has almost been like I've been interviewing you, so sorry if I put you on the spot. I know we got to get the Star Wars here.
You never said I was a role model.
If you don't watch sports.
No, I don't.
Okay,
I do.
Well, you watch wrestling.
Wrestling's a sport.
Sports entertainment. Okay,
it's
so
entertainment.
I'm taking.
It's the entertaining sport.
I'm taking wrestling off the table here. Okay,
it's the only sport I watch.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so it's fine. You don't like sports. I don't care. Okay, but if baseball season just started.
Yeah.
Baseball's like probably my second favorite sport besides football. I watch the Yankees. Me and my friends split the baseball package. It was like $37, get every game,
Yeah.
We share the login. I hope MLB's not listening to that. But yeah, but anyway, so and it's a good background sport.
Carlo works for the MLB.
Yeah, probably. It's a good background sport to, like, mute and read because I can just look up because not much happens in baseball a lot of times, so I like having it as a back. My grandpa is a big baseball fan, so sometimes I just feel like I keep up with it because of him, even though he's not around anymore. But if you had to watch one sport, like if I told you, you have to watch one sport for a season.
Yeah.
Not every single game, but let's say you had to watch it twice a week. What sport would you pick?
Hockey.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because DC likes it, and you could talk to him about it.
I used to watch a little bit of hockey when I was in high school.
Predators.
My freshman year, the Nashville Predators had their inaugural game my freshman year, and we did go to hockey games for a while. And I mean, I do like
They won the most games in the NHL this year. They just won the President's Trophy.
Yeah, they did.
And DC, who is like one of your best friends, is like he has season tickets. Huge Nashville Predators fan.
Him and his fiance love hockey and love the Predators.
And I got into hockey last year, and I'm into it. I didn't get as into it this season as I did last year because it was so new to me, really. The only time I'd watched a hockey game before that was when the Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup. Yeah. Only North Carolina team to win a professional championship, and it's a hockey team.
Yeah.
Go figure.
If So I think if I were around my friends in Nashville that love the Predators, I mean, I probably would go to a game or two a season with them. And I probably would, if they were like watching games, I would probably show up and probably could get into it. Plus, you sometimes have fights in hockey.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure that I would. I'm not quite like sold. I don't really have that much interest in UFC or anything because I mean, I really don't want to sit there and watch people
Bludgeon each other.
truly harm each other. But a hockey fight, I don't know, it's pretty fun.
So it would be hockey.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So that's going to wrap it up for this edition. I guess it'd be the 4th ever edition of the Confirmed Crap Podcast.
Confirmed Crap Podcast.
Is there anything else you want to say?
I do want to say that I just got the little porgs from GameStop. I bought them at GameStop. The little Star Wars Black Series porgs.
How many came in the pack?
2.
And you're going to review them.
I'm going to review them.
ActionFigureBarbecue.com.
Yeah, they're
pretty cool.
They're looking at me, and I really just want to reach over and start playing with them right now.
Yeah, by the time you listen to this, I will be a dad. So think about that. Just think about that. All right. And on that note, we are out.